Investigators believe the killer spent hours cleaning blood with bleach before moving the body to the car and dumping it. Further searches revealed bloodstains on the floor, wallpaper, and bedding in the washing machine. The presence of numerous bleach bottles suggested attempts to clean up bloodstains. Medical experts determined she was struck multiple times in the head and strangled, with no signs of defense wounds. The possible murder weapon, a piano leg missing from Casey's house, matched the head injury. Casey claimed the leg was loose, but it couldn't be found. Detectives ruled out robbery or sexual assault, suggesting the motive was solely murder. What happened to her? Who killed her? Who was the culprit? This is your partner in Crime Stories. Subscribe and let's move along this mysterious journey ahead. Rebekah Gould was born in Melbourne, Arkansas on April 28, 1982. She grew up with 3 sisters, and although her parents divorced shortly after the youngest sister was born, they remained close-knit. After high school, Rebekah attended Northwest Arkansas Community College in Fayetteville, where one of her sisters was already studying. Despite the distance from their family home, they visited frequently, balancing their studies with family time. In September 2004, 22-year-old Rebekah was excited about starting a new semester at college. She considered transferring to the University of Arkansas, but planned to complete one more semester at her current college first. During a weekend visit home with her sister, Rebekah also intended to spend time with her boyfriend, who lived nearby. However, when it was time to return to college on Sunday, September 19th, Rebekah didn't show up to pick up her sister as planned. Despite attempts to reach her, Rebekah didn't respond to calls. Initially, her family assumed she might have stayed longer with friends or decided to catch up on rest. However, their concern grew as the day progressed without any contact from Rebekah. By evening, they began to worry, hoping she would return soon. Their worry intensified the next day with no sign of Rebekah. Rebekah's family grew increasingly worried when she failed to contact them, and none of her friends had seen her either. Her mother decided to contact the police, who learned that Rebekah had stayed with her boyfriend, Casey. They went to Casey's workplace, where he said he last saw her around 8:30 a.m. Rebekah dropped him off at the cafe where he worked, intending to return to his place, pack her things, and meet up with her sisters before leaving. Casey mentioned that Rebekah had promised to pick him up from work, but never showed up. He waited for her, then went to a party with friends. The police listened to his account and asked him to search his home, to which he agreed. Inside, they found Rebekah's car parked outside and her purse with IDs, but her small suitcase was missing. They also noticed that the mattress lacked bedding and had large red stains resembling blood. Further searches revealed bloodstains on the floor, wallpaper, and bedding in the washing machine. The presence of numerous bleach bottles suggested attempts to clean up bloodstains. While investigators couldn't find additional evidence immediately, the blood found raised concerns about Rebekah's well-being. They began questioning Casey, as he was potentially the last person to see her before her disappearance, and a significant amount of blood was found in his house. Casey denied any involvement, stating he hadn't seen Rebekah since the previous morning and hadn't noticed any blood or bleach odors. Casey didn't seem bothered by Rebekah's car parked outside or her belongings left in the room. The police didn't immediately trust his explanation, but lacking substantial evidence, they couldn't accuse him of murder. They interviewed Casey's friends, who confirmed his alibi for the night Rebekah disappeared. With no clear leads, they continued searching for clues. Rebekah's ex-boyfriend, Justin, became a person of interest after Casey suggested investigating him. However, Justin couldn't be reached initially, raising suspicions. 2 days later, he contacted the police and provided an alibi. He had been at a casino with his father, which was verified. Detectives then discovered that Rebekah had stopped at a gas station near Casey's workplace on the day of her disappearance. This provided a new lead in reconstructing the timeline of events. After purchasing breakfast at a gas station, Rebekah headed to Casey's house, where employees confirmed her arrival after 8:30 a.m., matching Casey's story. Investigators found the same sandwich she bought, untouched in Casey's home. This indicated that Rebekah returned home and then disappeared, raising doubts about Casey's involvement. Blood found in Casey's house matched Rebekah's, with no foreign DNA present. Detectives interviewed Rebekah's relatives and friends, considering a personal motive if she was attacked. However, all efforts yielded no results. A week after her disappearance, Rebekah's body was found about 12 miles from Casey's house, at the base of a dam near the highway with no attempts to conceal it. Medical experts determined she was struck multiple times in the head and strangled, with no signs of defense wounds. The possible murder weapon, a piano leg missing from Casey's house, matched the head injury. Casey claimed the leg was loose, but it couldn't be found. Detectives ruled out robbery or sexual assault, suggesting the motive was solely murder. Since there were no signs of forced entry, the perpetrator likely knew Rebekah, possibly aware of her schedule in Casey's absence. Investigators believe the killer spent hours cleaning blood with bleach before moving the body to the car and dumping it. Despite this, they had no evidence, and the investigation stalled. Hundreds of people, including acquaintances and relatives of Rebekah and Casey, were considered, but no leads emerged. Tips from locals didn't yield results, and the case went cold for months. Reopened several times with new detective teams, it remained unsolved due to a lack of evidence and understanding of the motive. The case attracted attention from the true crime community, prompting journalist George Jared to write a book and start a podcast about it. He teamed up with former U.S. Army counterintelligence officer Jennifer Buchholz, creating a Facebook group to discuss the investigation. They noticed an active subscriber named William Miller who lived in the Philippines. His interest in the case from afar raised suspicion, especially with his detailed knowledge and theories. When a group member analyzed Miller's profile, they found something unexpected. Upon discovering that Miller was Casey's cousin, George and Jennifer informed the detectives working on Rebekah's case about their suspicions. Police reviewed the case files and found that Miller had been questioned before. He had visited the town around the time of the murder in 2004, claiming to be helping another relative from Texas. Miller had even visited Casey twice, once 2 days before Rebekah's disappearance. On the second visit, Rebekah saw him outside the house, but he didn't enter. Detectives became more interested in him after learning about his past. Digging deeper, they found that Miller had been a suspect in cases from 2002, including assault charges involving a minor and attacking his ex-wife. However, he didn't face consequences for these incidents. Later, he moved to the Philippines, got married, had kids, and worked on offshore oil rigs. Police wanted to question him again, but reaching him while he was abroad was nearly impossible. In 2020, Customs informed detectives that Miller had returned to the U.S. and was in Oregon where his mother lived. When they called her, she claimed not to have seen him recently, although they knew he was in town. Suspecting she was lying, detectives decided to go to Oregon to question him directly. With no evidence against him, the police needed a strategy if Miller had any connection to the murder. They desperately sought his confession. Detective Mike McNeil, leading the investigation, began the interrogation casually, stating they were just re-interviewing everyone involved. Miller agreed to cooperate, claiming he had nothing to hide. The detective proposed a polygraph test, to which Miller consented. Pretending to call the local police chief for a polygraph specialist, McNeil observed Miller growing visibly nervous, attempting to change the subject. Unbeknownst to Miller, the specialist was already waiting in the next room. Despite the polygraph's limited reliability, the detectives aimed to unsettle the suspect, potentially leading to a confession. When Miller asked about the test's admissibility in court, McNeil vaguely suggested it could be accepted in certain scenarios. Miller's nervousness persisted, but he agreed to the test, which he failed. Claiming that experts had found Rebekah's DNA and samples collected from his car, McNeil misled Miller, as no such evidence existed. By law, police can use such tactics to secure confessions. Upon hearing about Rebekah's DNA in his car, Miller fell silent. McNeil continued pressing him, emphasizing that confession was his best option, ultimately leading to success. Miller's confession was a turning point. He initially claimed to have stumbled upon Rebekah's body, but under pressure, he admitted to the crime. Miller recounted how he went to his cousin's house, overwhelmed by rage, and attacked Rebekah with a piano leg, then disposed of her body. He admitted to knowing the area well from attending school there. After being arrested and extradited, Miller retracted his confession, but it was deemed admissible. He could have avoided punishment by refusing questioning or fleeing the country, but his guilt weighed heavily. In 2022, he confessed again, receiving a 40-year sentence. While in prison, Miller confessed to 5 more murders targeting women who fit Rebekah's description. Police are investigating these claims. Some still doubt his guilt, suggesting alternative theories, but without evidence, Miller's involvement remains unchallenged officially.